Jacob is one of the most significant figures in the Bible, known as the patriarch of the Israelites and the father of the 12 tribes of Israel. His life, filled with divine encounters, personal struggles, and family conflicts, is recorded in the book of Genesis, chapters 25 to 50. His story is one of deception, transformation, and redemption, ultimately revealing God's faithfulness despite human failings. Birth and early life. Genesis chapter 25 verses 19 to 34. Jacob was the younger twin son of Isaac and Rebekah, born after his brother Esau. Even before their birth, God revealed to Rebekah that the older would serve the younger. Genesis chapter 25 verse 23. This prophecy set the stage for Jacob's life. At birth, Jacob was named Yaakov Hebrew for heel grabber, or supplanter, because he grasped Esau's heel during delivery. Genesis chapter 25 verse 26. As they grew, Esau became a skilled hunter, while Jacob was a quiet man who stayed among the tents. One day, Esau returned from hunting famished and sold his birthright, his inheritance as the firstborn, to Jacob for a bowl of stew. Genesis chapter 25 verses 29 to 34. This act demonstrated Esau's disregard for his spiritual inheritance, while Jacob's cunning nature was already evident. Deceiving Isaac for the blessing. Genesis chapter 27. When Isaac grew old and nearly blind, he intended to bless Esau before his death. However, Rebekah, remembering God's prophecy, helped Jacob deceive Isaac. She dressed Jacob in Esau's clothes and covered his smooth skin with goat hair to mimic Esau's hairiness. Jacob then brought Isaac a meal and received the blessing meant for the firstborn. May nations serve you and peoples bow down to you. Be lord over your brothers, and may the sons of your mother bow down to you. Genesis chapter 27 verse 29. When Esau discovered the deception, he vowed to kill Jacob. Genesis chapter 27 verse 41. Rebekah, fearing for Jacob's life, urged him to flee to her brother Laban in Haran. Jacob's journey to Haran and the dream at Bethel. Genesis chapter 28. On his way to Haran, Jacob stopped for the night and had a remarkable dream. A ladder, or stairway, reaching heaven, with angels ascending and descending. God stood above it and reaffirmed the covenant he had made with Abraham and Isaac. I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham and the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie I will give to you and your offspring. All peoples on earth will be blessed through you and your offspring. Genesis chapter 28 verses 13 to 14. Jacob awoke in awe, naming the place Bethel, house of God. He set up a stone pillar as a memorial and vowed to serve God if he protected him. Jacob, Rachel, and Laban's deception. Genesis chapters 29 to 31. In Haran, Jacob met Rachel at a well and fell in love with her. He agreed to work 7 years for her father, Laban, in exchange for her hand in marriage. However, on the wedding night, Laban deceived Jacob by giving him Leah, Rachel's older sister, instead. Jacob had to work another 7 years for Rachel. Despite his love for Rachel, Leah bore Jacob his first 4 sons, Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. Rachel, initially barren, later gave birth to Joseph and Benjamin. Jacob also had children through Leah's maidservant Zilpah, Gad and Asher, and Rachel's maidservant Bilhah, Dan and Naphtali. After 20 years with Laban, Jacob desired to return home. Though Laban tried to manipulate him, God blessed Jacob, increasing his flocks. Finally, Jacob fled with his family and possessions. Laban pursued him, but God warned Laban not to harm Jacob. They made a covenant at Mizpah and parted ways. Genesis chapter 31. Jacob wrestles with God. Genesis 32. As Jacob neared Canaan, he feared meeting Esau. He sent gifts ahead to appease his brother and prayed for deliverance. That night, a mysterious man wrestled with Jacob until daybreak. When the man saw he could not overpower Jacob, he touched his hip, dislocating it. Yet Jacob refused to let go until he received a blessing. The man then said, Your name will no longer be Jacob, but Israel, because you have struggled with God and with humans and have overcome. Genesis chapter 32 verse 28. This encounter marked a turning point in Jacob's life. His name changed from deceiver to one who struggles with God. He limped away, humbled yet blessed. Reconciliation with Esau.
Genesis chapter 33. When Jacob finally met Esau, instead of vengeance, Esau embraced him with tears. Jacob, overwhelmed, said, "To see your face is like seeing the face of God." Genesis chapter 33 verse 10. The brothers reconciled, and Jacob settled in Canaan.
Tragedy and trials, Genesis 34 to 35. Jacob's family faced turmoil when his daughter Dinah was violated by Shechem, leading to revenge by Simeon and Levi, Genesis 34. Later, Rachel died giving birth to Benjamin, Genesis 35, 16 to 20. Despite these sorrows, God reaffirmed his covenant with Jacob at Bethel, Genesis 35, 9-15.
Joseph's story and Jacob's later years, Genesis chapters 37 to 50. Jacob's favoritism toward Joseph, Rachel's firstborn, caused jealousy among his brothers. When Joseph was sold into slavery, Jacob grieved deeply, believing him dead. Genesis chapter 37 verses 31 to 35. Years later, during a famine, Jacob sent his sons to Egypt for food, unknowingly reuniting with Joseph, who had become a ruler. Overwhelmed with joy, Jacob moved his family to Egypt. Genesis chapters 45 to 46. Before his death, Jacob blessed Joseph's sons, Ephraim and Manasseh, and prophesied over each of his own sons. Genesis chapters 48 to 49. He died at 147 years old and was buried in the cave of Machpelah with Abraham and Isaac. Genesis chapter 50 verse 13. Conclusion. Jacob's legacy. Jacob's life was marked by struggle, with his brother, his uncle, and even God. Yet through his failures and redemption, God's covenant remained steadfast. Jacob's 12 sons became the founders of the 12 tribes of Israel, fulfilling God's promise to make him a great nation. His story reminds us that God works through imperfect people, transforming them for his divine purposes.